Hi, this is David with BestRest Products, home of the cycle pump tire inflator that has a lifetime warranty. Today we're going to talk about the Cyclops LED lighting system. We're going to install a pair of LED lights into my BMW F800GS. Now these lights are just spectacular. We've mounted them on other bikes and the results were just beyond words. We used to sell high-performance H4 bulbs that did a pretty good job, but these are so many steps beyond that, it's even hard to describe. This kit comes from Cyclops, they're a Seattle company, and it contains both a high beam and a low beam for the 800GS. Each bike is different, but in this case, this kit contains one of each. We have an LED light system. This will go into the low beam. We have an LED light system that will go into the high beam. The high beam requires a special cap that comes with the kit. It's pretty much a plug-and-play system. Perhaps the most fiddly part is fitting the wires through this replacement cap, and we'll show detail on that in a few minutes. We didn't have to remove the windscreen, we didn't have to remove any instrument clusters. Simply removing the caps at the back and carefully fitting the pieces in place made for a pretty quick and easy install. So we'll go to that install now and show you how to do it. For the high beam, they give you a replacement cap. When you take the stock cap off the bike, there's a rubber grommet that you're going to remove and replace on this new cap. And then you're going to feed wires through this cap. Coming from the LED light system, you're going to feed this connector through the hole. And there's a small cutout in this. It's a little fiddly. Use a small screwdriver to help you with the process. We used a flat-bladed screwdriver, being careful not to cut anything. And then you're going to feed the two-prong headlight connector back through the hole, which leaves the driver on the outside of this cap. That snaps in place with a waterproof connector. This is what it looks like after we've fed the wires through this hole. We have the driver on the outside, we have the wires going back inside, and it's going to look like this. You don't have to do that on the low beam. Instead, everything will fit inside the headlight assembly. Here we are at the back of the high beam bulb assembly. There's a cap that removes. It's tight, so you have to use your fingers to turn it slowly counterclockwise, about a quarter turn, and then it will remove as easily as that. Again, you have to remove the rubber gasket that is on this cap, and you will replace it by fitting it on to the replacement cap that came from Cyclops. We've fitted our wires through the cap, and what we'll have to do now is to remove the stock H7 bulb from the headlight itself. Inside, there's two wire bails. They're little clips, and it's difficult to see, but just by pushing in with my index finger, I was able to release the wire bail. I rotate it out of the way, and my bulb comes with it. I have to remove the connector from the back of the bulb. Just pull it straight out, and there's the stock bulb. By pushing down and twisting this flange, I can remove this from the light element. I set that aside. And then I'm going to fit this inside using the alignment notch, and it will get to a point where you feel it fit into place. And then I rotate the wire bails down into place, and pinch them and lock them into place. Then I bring my Cyclops headlight assembly, and I'm going to fit that into place. But before I do that, I make my connection of my 2-prong wire. And now I have to fit that in to the spaces around the back side of the assembly. In other words, this has to fit into the crevice on the sides. There's a little bit of fiddling with it to get it to go in, but it will. We've been able to make that connector fit inside the outside shroud so that we have enough room for the bulb to go into place. Next, I fit the bulb in. There's engagement ears that will only allow it to be mounted in one position, and then I turn it a quarter turn. I bring the cap back up into place, find the engagement point. So I found where my engagement tabs are, and in this case there's a tab right there at the top. I push it firmly into place, turn it a quarter turn to the right, and it locks in place and has a watertight seal all the way around the housing. Now it's just a matter of securing the driver to the underside of the Cyclops housing using the double stick tape that they provide in their kit. I've attached the driver to the bottom of the round assembly using the double stick tape, and that is now secure, and I'm ready to go over and start working on the low beam. Here we are on the low beam side. I take a hold of the cap at the back, turn it a quarter turn, remove the cap. Once again, I go in and I press the little wire bails. Rotate that out of the way, and there's my stock bulb. I unscrew the base fitting from the Cyclops light, and I'm going to fit that into place using the alignment tab and springing the wire bails back down to lock that in place. What I have to do now is I've got to stuff the driver and all the extra wires into this space around this ring. So that takes a little bit of time. Fitting the driver into the headlight assembly is it's a pretty tight fit. We found finally that we could get it in this fashion. Notice that the connector is on the back side, but we found a spot where it'll slide in right like that. We found the best way to do this was first remove the small lamp that's the parking lamp. Just pull it out of the housing, it's just a press fit. And then we found that we could fit the driver in. Notice that the connector is on the back side. So we fit the driver in by pushing it up and to the right. Doesn't seem like it'll go, but you practice with it a bit and you get it inside. So what we end up with is the driver is inside the assembly. There's our H7 connector. We're now going to go and attach all the wires and then finally fit the bulb. So we have our driver pushed up inside the lower right. We have our H7 connector made here. It's pushed out of the way. There's the ring that the LED bulb fits into. And here comes the bulb. Just going to fit it up into place. Find the proper locking ring. We found it. It can only fit in one position. Press it in slightly and compress the gasket. And we are ready to put the cap on. So we have the driver in the lower right. We have the H7 connector over on that side tucked in. We've got the wires tucked in place. Here comes my cap assembly. And I find the spot where it tightens right there. I give it a good turn, quarter turn to the right, and the assembly is complete. So we've just installed both the high beam and the low beam on my 800GS. It took us about a half an hour. You know, a little longer to set up the camera and take the close-up shots, but a half an hour ought to do it. Didn't really require any tools. It took a little fiddling to get the wires the way we wanted it. Took a little extra work on the low beam to get that driver up inside from the lower right, but everything fit in place just the way that Cyclops intended. We're going to turn the ignition on. We're going to get a low beam only because I have to have, or we're going to get a high beam only because I have to have the engine running for low beam. So there's my high beam. And when I compare that to what I had from what was considered to be a high-performance halogen bulb, the difference is just absolutely amazing. We'll start the engine. And there's our low beam. It's in low beam now. There's high beam. The difference is incredible. We're going to mount these on all of our bikes, recommended to all our friends and to you, our customers. Anyhow, we hope that you enjoyed this video. We'd like you to come to our website, BestRest Products, home of the cycle pump that has a lifetime warranty. Thanks for watching this video. We'll see you on the trail.